Before we get started, I want to share with you guys that this video is being brought to you by my Believe in Yourself necklace. You guys see the gorgeous model behind me? These sterling silver necklaces are still available for you guys. And when you get the sterling silver necklace, you also get my class, How to Be a Confident Life Coach. Okay, everybody needs to learn this confidence thing, to get this confidence thing under your belt, so you'll stop procrastinating, stop sitting on the sidelines and waiting and watching everybody else live their dreams, and you sit there because you have a perceived lack of confidence. So for those of you guys who want the Believe in Yourself sterling silver necklace, what you're going to do is you're going to send me a DM and you're going to get the necklace. The class that comes with it is the How to Be a Confident Life Coach. It's $67. That class is. You get it at no cost when you purchase the sterling silver necklace. The necklace itself is $60. So you're getting that class at absolutely no cost whatsoever. Okay? So now that we've got that housekeeping out of the way, let's get started on how I got started being a life coach and how you guys can too. Okay. So I'm not going to be long before you. I'm going to make this as short as possible. Because my story is on YouTube. I talk about it here so many times, but I'm going to briefly go over my story. I grew up, you guys, the youngest of 4 children. If anybody else in here in the room who was the youngest, you kind of know you kind of got put on the back burner often because you're young, you're the kid, you're the youngest. You don't really know what you're talking about. And so they think, okay? So oftentimes, my mother called me dumb and stupid. And if you call a child dumb and stupid, or you call anybody anything in particular, eventually they're going to believe it, especially a child. If you call a child something, they're really going to believe it. We're like sponges at that time. And so as a consequence of my mother calling me dumb and stupid on a regular basis, I believed it. I actually started to believe that I was dumb and that I was stupid. And so as a consequence, I never put my best self forward when it came to school. I failed the 9th grade 3 times, never got a high school diploma, never got a GED, never got any kind of formal training to be able to do what I'm doing here today. But I have ran several businesses since then, some successful, some not so successful. 10 years ago, I had a store, a boutique, and that is where my official coaching started. So I have been doing this work all of my life. Like, I literally remember being 12 years old, and my brothers are 8 and 10 years older than me. And so they would often have their girlfriends come over to the house, and I would be like, I'm 12 years old. What do I know about relationships, right? And so I would say to my brother's girlfriends, I would say, you guys should find somebody else that's going to treat you better because you need to be treated better. My brothers are not treating you good. You can find somebody that's going to treat you better. Like, I'm 12 years old. Like, what do I know about that? And so I've always been that person, that voice of reason, that not afraid to be the truth teller in the situation. I've always been that person. Then fast forward going to middle school and high school, I was the go-to person. Like, I was the person that people came to when they had issues, when they needed clarity on something. I was the person that they came to. And so when I opened up my boutique, I had a cleaning business, then I opened up my boutique. When I started in my boutique is when I really started to say, oh my gosh, like, this is what I'm called to do. Women were coming into my store. They were getting purses and jewelry and bags and all of the things that I was selling in my store, but I was pouring into them in a way that you don't get poured into going in a store to buy a purse, right? And so they kept coming back and back and back. And so I eventually started a book club in the back of my store. We would meet there twice a month. I believe it was twice a month that we would meet. And I closed my store really abruptly. That story is on YouTube. Closed my store. When I closed my store, one of my old customers came to my store, saw that I was closed, went to the store next to me and said, I just saw that Angel closed her store. Like, what's going on? Is there any way you can get in contact with her? And so the store owner called me and said, Angel, I have one of your customers here. She wants to talk to you. So I get on the phone And it was one of my customers that used to shop at my store and used to come to talk to me. And she said to me, she goes, Angel, I didn't know you were going out of business. She goes, well, can I still talk to you? Can I come and still talk to you like we used to do in your store? And how much do you charge to just talk to me? What? Huh? What did you just say? Did you just say to me, how much do you have to pay me to just come and have a conversation with me? Is that what you just said? Is that what you just said? And this is what I'm saying in my head. In my head, like all in a matter of seconds. She's like, I remember how we used to talk in the store. I would love to come and talk to you like we did. How much do you charge? And I just blurted out $45. It just came out $45. And so she was like, great, when can we get started? So we met at the local Starbucks and then we met at Dunkin' Donuts. Long story short, I worked with her I had no training, no certification, no nothing. I just had a passion to help people. And so when I was working with her, I was wearing her out. So this is what I mean by wearing her out. A coach-coachee relationship. The coachee, she should have been the one doing most of the talking. I was motivationally speaking to her, right? And so I'm like, you can do it. You can make this happen. She had issues with her son, and I was trying to help her get her son to listen to her by building her own self-esteem up because her son wasn't listening to her because she wasn't being firm with him. And so we met a couple times, and then eventually she started paying me to work with her son. You guys, that's how I got my first paying client. Like, just because just from being who I am. This is what I want you guys to get from this. Just from being who you are, because you guys already pour out into people. You guys already are the solution to many people's problems. You guys already are that. You just may not see that yet. And so I worked with her. That's how I got my first paying client. Okay, so then I closed my store. Remember, we're talking about how I got started. Then I closed my store. When I closed my store, I was devastated. I was like, I don't even know what to do with myself because I'm used to getting up, getting dressed, going to my store and starting work. So when I closed my store, I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what am I going to do? I was embarrassed. I was humiliated. I was like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think about me? I couldn't keep my store open. Oh my gosh. I was so going through so many things. So I took a 6-month break and after that 6 months, during that time, I was watching YouTube. Now, this was during the time where YouTube had just been born just a year after I closed my store. And so, or a year before I closed my store, I'm sorry. And so I was watching YouTube videos and I just decided one day, let me just go on YouTube and show people how to make jewelry or show them how to make a purse. So that's what I did. I opened up my computer and I was just like, hi guys, I'm going to show you guys how to make this jewelry. I was doing hair tutorials. Y'all, I can't even do hair. I don't know how to do nobody's hair, but I was on there showing people, I was learning from other people on YouTube, and then I would take what I was learning and bring it to my audience. So I was doing videos. They were not scripted. They were not intentional. They had no strategy to them whatsoever. I just knew that I wanted to help people. And so that's how I got started, you guys. I literally got started by just doing YouTube videos. After closing my store, how I came online, I got started just doing YouTube videos, okay? So number one, for you guys, I'm going to tell you how I got started, but I'm going to also tell you a wiser way to get started so you don't have to go through what I went through in the beginning, not knowing what I was doing, not knowing who I was talking to, not knowing how to market, not knowing that I probably should create a product or a program so when people work with me, I have something to take them through. And so the first thing that I would say for you guys that are just starting out, the very first thing that you want to do is decide if you want to get training or certification. Now, the life coaching field is not a regulated field, which means you do not need to go through training. You do not need to go through a certification program in order to hang your hat as a coach. Why is that? I believe that it's because we're not in the business of giving people advice. As coaches, we don't give advice. We don't diagnose. We can't write prescriptions for people. So in the government's eyes, they don't see this as a real profession. until they start, I do believe that eventually it will be regulated, just like the financial world. Being a CPA, being a financial coach was once an unregulated field, and now it's very regulated. So I do believe that eventually the coaching field will take on that same posture, and they will regulate this field. And I will say this, I can't wait until they do it, because we are so accustomed to having to go through training and having to get this piece of paper that I know it's going to make a whole lot of people a little bit more comfortable. Because, and I guess from my standpoint, because I don't have any of that, I don't have a high school diploma, I don't have a GED, I don't have that piece of paper that has allowed me to, say, get a job per se. Like, I don't come from that world. So it was fairly easy for me to know that this wasn't a regulated field. So it's not that I need to go to get certified. I went through training because I wanted to know the proper way to coach somebody. That was my whole reason. And I often tell people, if you're going to go through a training certification program just for your confidence purposes alone, that piece of paper that's all it is, you guys. It's a piece of paper. It's not going to change your posture as far as now you're all confident because you have this piece of paper. Your confidence is going to come from what it is that you do and how you see yourself, ultimately how you see yourself. So number one is deciding if you want to go through a training certification program or a certification program or get trained, right? And so the alternative way for those of you who are untraditional like myself and you don't want to go through a training program, another avenue that I often share with my coaches is to work with a coach. That's another way. That's like training on the job. You actually get to if you work with a coach, you get to see how they coach you, how the process, how the coaching call starts, how the coaching call ends, and everything in between. And you'll be able to glean from that. And so, what was I going to say? Oh, for me personally, I believe that everybody in their own way knows how to coach, right? Everybody in their own way. That's why people come to you right now, because when people come to you, they feel so much better after leaving from you. And so in my training and certification program, I do give you a 4-step program or 4-step process that will work with any client. A 4-step coaching process that will work with any client. But I really believe in training coaches on building their brand and marketing more so than coaching. Because the coaching techniques that I learned in my training certification program, I do not even use them. It's like team too much. You don't need all that. I'm a type of person, I get straight to it and let's work from there. I'm not a fluffy type of person. I don't like all the fluff. I don't like all of the pleasantries and all of that stuff. I like to get straight to the heart of the matter. So that's number one, deciding if you are going to get trained or certified. Number two, the second thing that you guys can do right now as a new coach, and this is number two, this is what I did as well. So number two, I'm sorry. Like I said, my number one was making videos. So number two, what I did was I started making YouTube videos. But your number two is to start making videos, start creating content right now. Somebody on the other live asked me earlier, when should I start putting out my content, even if I don't have my website up? And here's where I say, start making videos on any platform. Don't ask me, is YouTube a good platform? Everybody knows that YouTube is a good platform. So start making videos, and what you do on the back end while you're creating your videos, so you're not waiting until I got my newsletter up, I got my website up, I got my brand package, I got my press kit, I got all of that stuff. You don't need to wait for all that. And let me tell you why you don't need to wait for all of that. And this may hurt somebody's feelings, and that's okay. I hope all of us are grown-up people around here and we can all take the truth, okay? This is the reality. When people say to me, well, should I start putting out content now because I don't really have anywhere to send anybody if somebody wants to work with me? Or should I've recorded a YouTube video. Should I upload it now, or should I wait until I have my newsletter intact, or should I wait until I have my website up? And this is this is the truth of the matter. If you think that you're going to put one YouTube video up and a whole rush of people are going to come in and say, oh my gosh, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. I am here to tell you that is not how any of this works. Now, I am, like I often like to say, I am like Dr. Phil likes to claim how he is the incurable optimistic. I am so optimistic. Sometimes I make myself upset. Okay, I'm like, Angel, can you chill? Can you calm down just a couple minutes? Right? But I understand the reality. You are not, the chances of you creating a video and you blowing up. Okay, now people are afraid to put up this one video because, oh my gosh, people are gonna want to go to my website. People are going to want to work with me. The chances of people even seeing that video are really slim to none, unless you have a whole bunch of marketing dollars behind you, or you've got some brand partnerships, or you've got people tagging you and reposting you. The chances of your first video getting seen by a whole bunch of people is slim to none. I remember when I would put up right, Kristen, you know I'm telling the truth. When I would put up a video in the very beginning, I would get so excited because in a month I would get 30 views. In a month. Like, I was excited because I got 30 views on one video in a month, right? So today I can upload a video and get 30 views quicker than a month. And that's because I've been building it. I've been putting the content out into the marketplace. So you are not going to blow up overnight unless you do. And I like to say, you never know. You could see Iyanla in the grocery store tomorrow, or Oprah in the grocery store, Dr. Phil, whomever. You could see them in the grocery store tomorrow, have a conversation with them, and they see the gift in you. They put you on their show. Boom, you've blown up overnight. But the chances of that happening, so relax, you guys. You're not going to blow up overnight unless you do. So relax. So number 2, start making your videos on any platform that your little heart desires, and start building on the back end. Build on the back end. Build your website, your newsletter, your blog, etc. Whatever it is that you're going to build, whatever systems that you're going to have in place, you want to make sure that you're doing that in the process of you posting on Instagram, doing your Instagram lives, doing your Facebook lives, doing your YouTube videos. Do those things. And then when you're done, get back to working on the back end. You want to make sure that you're putting yourself out there. Just put your stuff out there. Give people a chance to get to know who you are, and that's going to take a minute, okay? Number three is what I did, and I want you guys to do too. Number 3 is I started teaching classes. You guys, when I tell you, when I taught my first class, I was petrified. I was so nervous, so scared. I was so nervous and so scared, like I literally had to jump and physically shake and do some jumping jacks and move my body because I was so nervous to pick up that damn phone and get on the phone and start teaching my class. Because remember, I'm dumb. I'm stupid. I failed the 9th grade 3 times, never got a high school diploma, never got a GED. So I'm dealing with all of that still before I pick up the phone, right? So I'm thinking all of these thoughts, oh my gosh, who's going to listen to me? Who's going to call in? And so because I know myself, I knew that I couldn't just do one conference call. I had to set it up to where I did a whole 21-day challenge. I did it was called the Uncommon Woman 21-Day Challenge. I went live for 21 days straight because I know thyself, and I knew that if I get on this call one night, and because I'm so nervous, I'm so scared, I'm gonna hang up this phone tonight and be like, whew, so glad that's over, and be done with it. But I know myself, so I knew that I had to set this up. So I set it up for 21 days. And you can't put something out there in the marketplace and say you're gonna come live for 21 days straight and not show up. Okay, that's like a major. You will set yourself back big time doing something like that, unless obviously things happen. Life happens and stuff happens, but I'm just saying, like, you can't be like, oh my gosh, you guys, I thought this was gonna be 21 days, but I can only handle 1. So I hope you guys enjoyed day 1 because I'm done, right? So I knew that I had to put myself out there and be consistent with it, because I knew that I would pull back and I would just relish off of the fact that I did it and be done with it. So that's number 3. Start teaching classes. Teach classes sooner than later. Number 4, this is what's gonna happen. Number 4, this is what's going to happen. So after I did those 21 days, right? I did the 21 days and I actually sold it. I talked about that before, but perhaps I'll share that with you at another time. But I actually did it, sold the recordings, and then after that, I started going live. I started hosting conference call every Saturday night. Now, it was one night I was sitting in my bathtub and I had candles lit and I'm just sitting there. And it was on a Saturday night. And I'm sitting in the bathtub and I'm like, God, like, I'm just like reflecting on and this was years ago. What are you teaching though in the first class? So in the Uncommon Woman Challenge, I taught something different every single day. So the first one day I taught about how to keep your house clean, the power of an organized house, the power of your words. I talked about being confident. I talked about discovering your purpose. Because I didn't have a niche yet, I just talked about things that I had mastered in my own life, things that I was really good at. So for 21 days, I talked about something different each and every single day, but it was still in the line of personal development because that's what I know, right? I know personal development because that's the call that's on my life. So I just shared from that. So that's what, those were the different classes that I taught. What was I saying? Okay. So I was laying in my bathtub and I was just reflecting on how different my life has changed. And just, have you guys ever like realized like, oh my goodness, I remember there was a Saturday night that I wouldn't even be doing this. On Saturday at 9 o'clock at night, I would be in somebody's bar or, turning it up or twerking somewhere or doing something. And that's what I was doing. I was just sitting in the bathtub and I was just reflecting on how much my life has changed. And I was like, God, I know during the time that I was like, I'm just going to say out in the streets, whatever, that I was out here just doing everything that I thought I was big enough and bad enough to do. She said, right? I was out here doing everything. And towards the end of that lifestyle for me, I was going out, I knew at that time, to avoid what I knew that I was being called to do. Hands down, the voice of God was getting so much louder. The evidence was becoming so crystal clear. And I was just like, I was running from it. So when I finally surrendered to the call, and I'm laying in my bathtub that night, and I just thought, I was like, I want to reach the people who were where I was. I want to reach the people who are out at the bar on a Saturday night right now, who know that they're not really having fun. They're bored. They don't have anything else to do. So they kind of still just hang out with their girlfriends, even though they don't even really like their girlfriends anymore. That starts to happen too. I know you guys have gone through that. People perhaps that you've grown up with or whatever. When God starts to call you, he calls you out of a lot of stuff before we actually get called into something. Oh, somebody type that. God calls us out of stuff before he calls us into some stuff. And so during that time, like, I'm just going to the bar as per usual, drinking, smoking, doing everything that I was big enough and bad enough to do, and I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And so when I was laying in my bathtub, I said, that's what I want to do. I said, I want to host conference calls on a Saturday night. Now, most people will not, yes, God calls us out before he calls us in. Thank you so much. Most people, when they are planning a conference call or to come on live or something like that, most people will plan it when they know that a lot of people will be able to tune in, or a lot of people, like this morning, I said, if you guys watch my morning, when I was on this morning, like around 5:30 this morning, I said that, I could have came on later, obviously when people were awake, but I came on Saturdays. Now you would think to host a conference call for young girls, for women in their late 20s to 30s, you're going to host a conference call on a Saturday night. You may think you might want to host that maybe on a Monday after they came home from work, or perhaps on a Sunday evening after they got home from church and now they're preparing for the week and then they're relaxing and then you want to host a call. But nope, I wanted to pull everybody out of the club. I wanted the women that on Saturday nights that were going to the club and they knew they're calling, but they were just ignoring it. So I felt in my spirit that God wanted me to do this on a Saturday night. So for a whole year, I went live every Saturday night, and I called it like Sexy something Saturdays. I don't even remember, but I went live every single night. Every single Saturday night at 9 p.m. at 9 o'clock when it's turn up time. You guys, okay. Oh, let me tell you this. It got to the point where the women that were calling in, they would have their girlfriends come over their house, put me on speakerphone, and that was their night out. It would be their phone, me talking on speaker, and they would have a room full of their girlfriends that they invited over to come and listen to me talk on this conference call. Like, that's how it got so amazing. And I was just pouring into them. Now, this is number 4. For those of you who are taking notes, number 4, this is what happened to me, and this is what's going to happen to you if it has not already. Number 4 is this. People will start to ask you, can they work with you? That's going to happen. If you are showing up consistently, week after week, or however you plan to schedule your live, or your conference call, whatever you decide to do and be consistent with it, people are going to start asking you, how can I work with you? Do you take one-on-one clients? Is there any way that I can send you an email so we can perhaps work together? That's what started happening to me. So how I got my clients online was by doing conference calls. Anybody that's been connected to me for any amount of time will tell you that that's how Angel Richardson was able to completely fill up my coaching practice, was by doing conference calls. They were conference calls. I did not charge for them. And so people were coming into the call at no cost. So this was a Saturday night that people could just, enjoy it at no cost to them. And so when you pour into someone like that, they're going to want to work with you. So I'm telling you guys, continue. Oh, thank you so much. Love your story, your journey. Thank you. I appreciate that, sir. I appreciate that. God, I received that and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And so that's going to start happening for you guys. If you are consistent, you're going to get people to start saying to you, can I work with you? But too often, this is what happens. I'll get some of my coaches that I work with, they'll do 1 or 2 conference calls and then they stop. They stop because they get discouraged. Well, only one person called in. We only had 3 people call in. Like, are you serious? That's how it starts. That's how it starts. Like, what do you mean? Do you think the first time I went live, that I did my conference call, that it was 50 people on that call? Absolutely not. And for those of you who do get upset when you say, well, I went live and only one person showed up. If you went live and one person showed up, how would you feel if you went live and you had 300 people live and it was your first time? If you logged into live and you had 300 people watching you or 500 people watching you, your tail would be like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Oh my gosh, I can't believe all these people are here, right? And so God gives us what we can handle. So yes, thank God for that one person. Celebrate the small. There is a Bible scripture that I had plastered all over my apartment before we moved into this house, and it said, do not despise the days of small beginnings. Do not, and that's exactly what we do. If you think about it, only one person called in. I only lost 1 pound. I only went down 1 pant size. I only did this. I only did that. We are going up against the very thing that scripture tells us not to do. Do not be despised by small beginnings, you guys. That is where everything starts. Come on. Yes, you see Oprah where she is now. You see her where she is now, but it started with one person listening to her. Just one. Okay, so that's number 4. People are going to start to ask you, can they work with you, or how can they work with you? And here's the 5th and final one. Number 5, this is what I did. I started creating products and programs more specific targeted products and programs, because this is another thing that happens, especially for you guys who are unclear on what your niche is. During those conference calls, this is something that I did. And for those of you guys who are ready to do conference calls, I do have a training on my website entitled How to Host Conference Calls. So for those of you who need that training, make sure you go get it. It's so detailed. By the time you get off of that training, you'll be ready to pick up the phone and start doing your conference calls. So for those of you who are ready for that step, go get how to host conference calls. But for those of you who are just starting and you don't know your niche, this is something that helped me get so crystal clear on who I was supposed to target. So because I'm on YouTube, and you guys know I be on YouTube telling my business, like my mother says, she gets on the WeTube and tells her business. That's what my mother says that I do for a living. She doesn't even call it YouTube. She says the WeTube. She gets on the WeTube and she tells her business. That's what I do for a living, according to my mother. So I was on the WeTube telling my business, and people knew that my husband and I had been married for 20 years and I had children. And so people were asking me questions on that conference call. They're asking me questions about their relationships, about their children, about their confidence. And what I realized is that I say this all the time, I love you guys and I want you guys to have a happy marriage, but I am not drawn to the marriage ministry. I'm not drawn to the self-love ministry. That's not my calling. My calling is to help people get paid for who they are. Period. And I'm so crystal clear on that. And so because of that, because I knew that, right, and I gained that knowledge through doing the conference calls, I started out with my very first, hang on, let me show you guys. I like props. Let me show you guys. Okay. So because in the very beginning, I knew that I wanted to help people get paid for who they are. I knew that, right? And so the very first workbook that I did, if you guys can see this, it's called The Entrepreneur's Guide to Making Money Doing What You Love. This was the first workbook that I created. And because I wasn't honed in yet on that I want to work specifically with life coaches, this information could help you with any business that you're in, right? And so by me doing those conference calls, I started to realize that the entrepreneurs that were coming to me, they were saying, how did you do your YouTube video? How did you become a speaker? How did you become a motivational speaker? How did you get clients? And there were more and more people coming to me, asking me more specific questions pertaining to what I'm doing. And that's when I was like, that's it. I need to help people get paid for who they are, who are coaches. People, they're asking me, how did you do your YouTube video? How did you get clients? I'm like, these are all coaches that are coming to me. And so that is when the Life Coach's Guide was born. It started very general over here with the Entrepreneur's Guide to Making Money Doing What You Love. And then it went to this. And I'm going to tell y'all, somebody that's nosy, I'm going to tell you how I wrote this book in less than like 5 minutes. Okay. But I need at least 5 of you guys to tell me that you want to know, and then I'll tell you. But if you don't tell me, I'm not going to tell y'all. So first it was this, and then I got crystal clear and realized that it was coaches that were coming to me. So that's how I got started, you guys. That's how you too can get started. Okay, I see one nosy. I see 2. I see 2. I see 3. 2 more, and I'm telling. Definitely want to know. Okay, I want to know 5. There you go. Stop. I just need 5 nosies. I just need 5 nosy people, and I will tell you. Okay, so this is how I wrote this book in less than 5 minutes. Okay, this is what I did. I did a YouTube video a long time ago that didn't get many views, okay? Because it was just, okay, stop, y'all. Stop saying I want to know. I got it. I'm telling them, pouring the tea out right now. So I did a YouTube video called People Will Pay You for Who You Are. I did it a long time ago. It didn't get a whole bunch of views. So for those of you guys who say, but it only got 1 view, check out what you can do with that 1 view in that video. So I did a video called People Will Pay You for Who You Are. It did not get a ton of traffic. It didn't get a lot of engagement because it was fairly early when I was just starting out in YouTube, right? So it was a couple years into YouTube. So what I did was I took that video down because I said how people will pay you for who you are. I took that video down, sent that video over to the girl who does my transcriptions. You guys know what transcribing is, right? Let me know. You guys know what transcribing is? When somebody types what you're talking. I took that video off of YouTube. You can no longer find that video on YouTube. I took that video off of YouTube, sent it over to her. She transcribed it and boom, put it right in this book. I wrote that book in less than 5 minutes. Did you guys pick up what I put down? Did you guys pick up what I just put down? That is called repurposing content. That is called repurposing your content, okay? That is how I was able to write this book in no time because it was already written. It was already written. It just needed to be out of word format and put into written format. Then once you get it into written format, then you got to take all the oohs and ahs and send it over to the editor, and then they make it all pretty, you know, and the formatting and all of that. Yes. So that's how I got started, you guys. Do I have any questions? Any questions, you guys? Any questions on how I got started coaching? Any questions? What camera, video equipment, or anything related to making videos do you recommend? So I'm going to recommend you over to my website because I have a blog on exactly your question. I'm going to find it. Hang on. YouTube video production cheat sheet. There it is right there. So that's on. And it talks about the camera that I use, lighting, all of that is on that. Girl, no. Who are you? Have you always felt comfortable speaking on camera? No. Abso-freaking-lutely not. No. No. The first time I did a YouTube video, I smoked a whole bunch of weed because I was nervous. And then I only just started doing live 2 years ago. And I was petrified because I'm a YouTube girl. And so coming from YouTube, that platform where you can edit and editing, that's all I got to say. You can edit, to come from being able to edit myself to live to where I can't edit. And if I say something wrong, y'all gonna hear me say it wrong. I was so embarrassed. Oh my God, no, girl, no. I was not comfortable speaking on camera at all. Who's your editor? What do you mean, my editor? As far as what do I use to edit my videos? Is that what you mean? Oh, you are so welcome. You're so welcome. So no, I was not always. Absolutely not. I often like to remind you guys that I too was like, oh my gosh, I too was scared and petrified and nervous. And now it's like second nature, only because I didn't give up. How did you overcome that? Or did you just shake it? That's it. I just did it. I kept doing it. I kept doing it afraid. I kept doing it afraid until the fear went away. I just kept doing it afraid. There was nothing to overcome. You know what? I did overcame something. I overcame myself. I overcame myself. That's what I did. I overcame myself. I moved myself out of the way and I started focusing on the fact that, Angel, you can't go to the grocery store, the gas station, the post office. You can't go anywhere without somebody stopping you and telling you their entire life story. Get on camera and do this for the people across the world. So I did. I had to overcome myself.